Hear real stories of courage, healing, and new beginnings at Refuge for Women. This is where hope is restored and futures are reclaimed.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Refuge for Women's channel. We are so excited to be providing you some bonus content today. My name is Peyton Richardson. I am the executive assistant here, and I am with Dr. Beverly Gibbons. You can find her on our previous video having a conversation with our president, Abby Germer, about different awareness topics. Beverly, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you, Peyton. I am Dr. Beverly Gibbons, and I'm the executive director for the Las Vegas location for Refuge for Women, and I'm so excited to be here today.
Beverly, can you tell me about a particular story that has really inspired you in your time working here?
Yes, I can think of a particular resident that she went through our program, did really, really well, and went to transitional living and made a mistake and, ended up, being expelled for that. Mm-hmm. But she didn't give up. She didn't let it, get her down. She actually owned her mistake, but, just stuck with it. Mm-hmm. She went to school. She got some additional education. She led to a very great career for, a good wage. And then after she got settled and did that, she was like, I want to be reunited with my child. Mm-hmm. And so to see the effort that it took to do that, I mean, this was a long, long process. Mm-hmm. And she had to fly back to her original state where she came from to go to court continually. Mm-hmm. I mean, it had to be in person. But she never let it deter her. And I just admired her strength. I mean, I could see myself getting frustrated or like another court date. And then to go to court and then have your story told in open court and you have to recite it again and what happened to you. But it just she never wavered. Her goal was to get her child back. Mm-hmm. And then to finally see her get her child back and to bring her back home. It was under supervised visits then, she still was had to report to a social worker and do the checks. And then to see finally, I have full custody of my child back and it's done, it's over. I mean, that level of strength just really, really resonated with me. I mean, that's just amazing. People give up, if it was that much traveling back and forth on a plane and going to court repeatedly and having investigations and all that. So that really resonates.
Yeah. I think a lot of the women in our program, their main goal in finishing program is to get their children back. And I love that we get to support that when it's appropriate. Mm-hmm. And this is definitely an instance where it seems like it was an appropriate and really positive move for her. Mm-hmm. And so, I love this story in particular because I actually started fostering because of the women in our program. Mm-hmm. And just great. Getting to see the other side of this and see how hard our women work to reunify with their kids it has always inspired me. So yes, to be able to get to support reunification personally and professionally has always been a priority for me. And so I think that's just one of many great stories of women in our program who have gotten to have their kids back. And reminds me that, our empowerment program at our Kentucky units, we have 4 of those units reserved for women to get their kids back. Yes. And so that's not our main mission, but it is part of it. And right. So I think that's just really inspiring.
It is to me too. And I've even seen someone that had adult children, that had been separated from them because of the trafficking and living on the streets, that after the healing program made those steps to contact them and they, were happy that their, mom had been, healed from this and was doing so much better. And that reunited a family. And then she got to meet her grandchildren. So I just think those stories that makes me feel really, really, really good about this work.
Yeah. For sure. I would also love to ask a question about one of our favorite things, which is resident graduations. And so when a resident graduates from our program, can you tell me what that means and what that means about how far along she's come and what kind of milestones she's reached in order to get there?
That's a great question because I remember the very first graduation that I got to participate in with Refuge. And when they come to our house, we have a red door. And so they walk through the red door. That's like their beginning of their healing journey. And they've spent 12 months with us, right? And so they've been in weekly counseling. They've gone to CR weekly, sometimes twice a week. They have learned about safe people, about their trauma, how their body has reacted to this trauma. They've learned important life skills. They've learned conflict resolution. They've also have learned a lot about the faith and the role that Jesus is going to play in their life. And so when they graduated, we actually had an artist do a red door. And so as they walked across the stage, they walked through this red door on stage, as in that begins their independent journey. And by then, we've helped them start putting applications in and prep for jobs. They might not have a job yet, or they might have gotten one, depending on the timing of that. But they're stepping into their new independence. And even though we're still there to offer supports, they are going to be able to do this on their own and make those decisions for their own lives. No more control or coercion, but I get to make these decisions for myself. So it represents that. Healing is not all over yet, so they're going to continue with their counseling, but they've made such strides in, making decisions for their lives and living in a stable environment and being able to grocery shop for themselves, cook their own meals, choose their own clothes. I mean, I've had women say that I didn't get to do any of that for myself and saying I get to choose what I like. And so that's just big, right? They know that they are ready to live out their God-given destiny and be able to be a part of that and make those decisions for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I love graduation days. They're always something that I look forward to because I think it's a time where I have noticed that the women in our program notice that they have a completely new family. One of the things that they always talk about, that I've noticed that they always talk about in their graduation speeches, is how at one point in life they were so low because they thought they had no one.
Right.
And to be sitting in a room full of people clapping for them for graduating a program, which is a really hard task, is just such a beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful thing. And it's also just such a beautiful thing to see the body come together and just be there for them and supporting them. And to have a full room for one person is just an amazing thing. So, and as you know, it takes a lot of work to get through our program.
It does. It is a lot. It's a lot of classes. It's a lot of reflection too, which I think would be very, very hard for them to have to do some of the homework that you have to really reflect back on things that happened and why and examine those things so that it doesn't happen to you again. But I love how you mentioned the community support because the church comes out and the volunteers come out and they're all clapping and we have robes and like a real graduation for them that they get to wear the cap and gown and walk into pomp and circumstance. And it's just such a monumentous occasion. I mean, it's a huge, huge life, completion that they get to walk through and we make it a big deal. And I just love that for them.
Yeah. Your comment about the cap and gown, it makes me think of just how much we do get to celebrate on a daily basis, even when it's not a program graduation. I know for me, when I worked in program, I feel like we just were constantly having these celebrations for milestones. We had a resident who was supposed to graduate the year that she came into program. She was 18 and is still our youngest graduate to date. Because she graduated when she was 18, but she didn't finish high school because she chose to come to program. And I think it was within 2 months, she actually completed her GED
That's
and
great.
graduated before her anticipated high school graduation date.
Oh,
And so
wow.
she was definitely a very determined one. But it was just a fun thing to get to have a mock high school graduation for her and to allow her to do that when she was supposed to. And so it just makes me think of all the things that we get to celebrate, and it's just really fun.
That's interesting too. I love that you mentioned that too, that it's not just the year that they get to, but we do celebrate milestones, because I think that's just something that makes them encouraged and, more determined to finish. So like their 30 days, right? They get to have a sweet treat. So we usually take them to get something that they like, if it's an ice cream, like a specialty ice cream store too, or something that Vegas has, that's one unique, and then there's 60 days, they get to have something else, so, and that encourages them to keep going.
Yeah.
And have something to look forward to, right? So I like that too. I'm glad that you mentioned the milestone, fun things too.
In your time with Refuge, you have walked alongside so many women on their journeys. And so I'd love to hear, what are some things that the women in our program have taught you about resilience, courage, or faith?
That's another really good question. The courage part I would address, because the courage to say that you need help, right? And something so unique as asking for help for trafficking and facing that somebody might not believe you or think that, you did this to yourself, or, those negative things that people can say because they don't really understand it, is tremendous. That courage is tremendous to say that and to, ask for help. And then to stay a year in a home where, it's 24-hour supervision and people are doing this for you and, telling you when to get up and go to bed and what time is to eat, basically structure. That structure could be very hard. And so the courage to do that and to keep going is amazing. The resilience of, taking ownership for your healing, because you got to do the work. It's not a, wave a wand and it just happens. You have to face some hard things. And it's every week, going to counseling and talking about those things, or meeting with your program director in your one-on-ones and setting goals for yourself. And it's not like a straight line. It's going to be some ups and downs. That takes resilience, right? To be able to do that.
Yeah.
And then the faith, I have seen women come in not believing in God, blaming God, and to come out like with such a strong faith in Jesus and understanding that they are not what's happened to them. They are here for a purpose, and God has given them that purpose. And then I think I cry at every baptism, right? I've been to so many, and then that's just their demonstration that I'm going to walk this out with Jesus. It's powerful. I mean, this is not an easy walk for them. And the things that's happened to them is very traumatic. But then they're taking ownership, and saying, I'm going to heal from this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to live a God-purposed life.
Yeah, I think that's great. One of the terms that I recently started using when I talk about our program and what it takes to get through it is that it can be very emotionally expensive. I say when I say expensive, I don't mean money wise. Of course, it takes money to run our program, but to the women, it is expensive to give up 3 years of your life, and that's what I tell people. And I think also a common myth that a lot of people have about our program is that we are just a shelter.
Right.
And while we provide a safe residential home, the women in our home are not there just to have a roof over their head.
Right.
Of course, that's important, but we ask a lot of them. We ask them to complete some really extensive work on themselves. And to do that does take a lot of courage and a lot of resilience to dig into those things. And so I always think it's commendable when they stick around for that.
Yeah.
But you always see that it's worth it in the end when they do complete it.
I'm like you, and they say that, right? I mean, I've had residents say, I didn't want to come at first, and I thought it was going to be long, but then they're like, it's so worth it. Like they really say that it's worth it. And then I've even had some that say that have gone through transitional living, and they're like, I just want to come back for 2 weeks and just like, and like sit and let that. And I'm like, I bet,
Yes.
because it is such a wonderful experience, and they get that chance to for themselves. They get to take care of themselves. So
Yeah. As you have entered this role recently, I'd love to hear from you. What is your vision over the next couple of years, and what do you see happening at your location specifically in Vegas?
okay, so we recently, went on a pivot where we closed our emergency house and decided to return to our long-term program. And we describe that as our bread and butter, right? That's where we have seen the most impact on the residents' lives, where they get more increased stability, and we set them up better for success. The emergency house is great for immediate shelter and getting them out of a situation. And then we try to place them in the long term, because that's where that's where all the work really, really happens. And so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the opening of our long-term home. Our long-term home had not been closed for 10 years, so it needs some love. It needs some love on it. And so I'm excited that we're in the middle of those renovations and the fresh paint and upgraded security and just freshening it up, some new furniture, new pictures, and things like that, and restocking our shelves. So that's what we're in the middle of right now, and that'll take a couple, more months to get that done. But we're looking to open back in, mid-April or so, or towards the end of April, depending on the construction, because we all know how that goes. And then just really strengthening our community support, diversifying our funding with a blend of foundations and grants and individual donors, and people that maybe are not involved. I'm out there wanting to tell our story, invite them in so that people even know we're there, and more awareness. Because it is surprising how when people ask me what I do and I tell them, and they're like, that happens here, or that you people help people, and I'm like, yes, and this is how you can get involved. So just kind of like shoring us up and making us stronger as we move forward, because I would like for us to have a transitional living for our graduates, somewhere to go so they can continue that journey of healing and stability, and getting that work done. But right now we're just trying to, fix up our long-term home, restoration home, and get ready for those next residents, and really strengthen our donor base, our relationships with the community, and really bringing awareness to our community.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great vision. So for somebody who might be brand new to our mission, or has even supported Vegas in the past, what would you say is your biggest need currently?
Definitely our financial base. We need to build those up, build up our financial support, because it does take money to, run our homes. And that would be something that I would say first. But I've had other people that have reached out that just want to help and they don't know how. I think Abby and I talked about that previously. And I just start with, what do you think your skill sets are? And people will send me their resumes and things like that. But where do they see themselves, where they fit? And then plugging them into those different things. Like our program has all kinds of different curriculum. If you don't feel, comfortable doing that, you have art, can you drive residents to the grocery store each week? Can you take them to CR? I mean, there's all types of ways to get involved. So I think just having that conversation, and once people kind of have that conversation with me, they're like, oh, I could do this. I like to scrapbook. I like to paint. Oh, maybe you could do that I like to exercise. Maybe you could lead an exercise class, that week. So there's just so many ways to, plug in and get involved.
For sure. Shameless plug. We have talked about how everyone can get involved, and in previous videos, just about how there is a spot for everyone.
Yes.
No matter your skill set. So if there is someone out there right now who might be watching this, who is being exploited currently, or who knows somebody who is being exploited, what would you want them to know? And can you talk about how they can go about getting out?
So first, what I'd want them to know is that there is help. right? We're willing to help you. And in fact, while we're not open for residents because we're doing these renovations, there's still been women reaching out on our website. And I've been getting those, and we've been contacting them and actually trying to get them placed in another setting, whether that means that that's immediate help. We can work with the Salvation Army, or there's another similar organization that's in Vegas that may have availability. So, that's the thing, that we usually have 6 beds. They might have 6 beds, they might be full, but we'll try to get them out of that situation. Even if that means collaborating with our other refuge sites. There's always somewhere that could, they can get assistance. It might be a hotel night just to get them out of a situation, that we can do that and then help them get the follow through with another organization or resource. There's a lot that we could do to help. And so that's still going on now, even though we're not open. We're still helping women find that help, because I want them to know there is someone that cares and there is help. There are resources that can help you.
Yeah. And Refuge is a network model,
Right.
like you said. And so, yes, while our Las Vegas location is currently closed, we do have other locations operating. And so one of the things that we try to do is relocate women when it is necessary. For example, we might have a woman apply and she lives in Las Vegas, and what seems like the most appropriate thing to do would be to put her in the Las Vegas home because that's where she's from. But a lot of times she needs to leave and go far because it's too close to home. And we don't try to shelter our residents too much. We do go out in public.
Right.
We do things. And so we try to put them in a place that is safe and it doesn't expose them too much to their past. When I worked in our North Texas location, we had a few women who had come from the Dallas area. And while it was great that they got to be close to home, it was just too close to home.
Right.
And they would go out and think that they saw somebody that they knew, or even really did see somebody that they knew. And that was really hard for them. And it became evident that we needed to change our model to fill that gap. And so we do provide relocation assistance for those who have been accepted into our program, and do have open beds currently. So that's also what I would add for somebody who might be wanting out today. We have that availability.
Yep.
Still talking to that person on the other side who might be experiencing this currently. What would you say to them about what could be on the other side of exploitation?
I would just take from what residents have said after they have, completed that, they have freedom. They all use that word, like, I'm free. And then that could mean a number of things, right? Free from the exploitation, but also free from the weight of trauma holding them back, free from maybe the lies that they were told that they weren't good enough or that they deserve it or whatever. They're free from that. They've worked through all that with their coursework and the counseling. And then they're free to make their own life choices. They can choose for themselves. So the life on the other side of that is good. It's free. And that you don't have to be bound by that circumstance that happened to you.
Well, Beverly, thank you so much for being a part of this today and just sharing what has been like for you in Vegas. For those of you watching, thank you for watching. Make sure you like and share this video. If you want to give, you can visit our website at refugeforwomen.org/give, and we will also drop a link in the description for that as well.